what was your experience like coming back and trying to, bridge the two worlds? Can you speak to that a little bit? Because that's what Tribe was about.
Yeah. So, what a great topic. I'll have to bring. I literally it was in my storage unit yesterday and saw it, so I got to pull it out. So how fortuitous that you brought it up, and I just looked at it, so I know exactly where it is. But let me digress for a little bit. Let me paint you the picture of World War II with the guys that would go out and do combat and then come back. When they would go and come, it was by ship. So back then, ship voyages took a while, right? So it would take anywhere from a week to 2 weeks to get home from whatever it was you were doing. And so, what does that mean? And to your point about live, sleep, eat together, all that, they could talk amongst themselves and decompress, right? They could work out what they saw and what happened to them there. Now, fast forward to the 21st century, and I was in a combat zone. 48 hours later, I'm home, and I'm still smelling like
Mm.
jet fuel, and I haven't showered or shaved or anything for 2 days because I just stepped off the plane, and now I got a 3-year-old that I have custody of that I'm supposed to, you know, be a dad to, and
Wow. I've
and
never
so
actually considered that, the speed of integration. I never even, for some reason, I've never even thought of that.
yeah, I mean, if you look, it's funny because I read it. It was either an Australian or a British uh, journalist who had first exposed me to that about how that integration piece, why you didn't see what you see now, is because you had time to decompress, right? Whereas with us, bam, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, and for me, it was really hard because when I would see people in the burkas at the pizza parlor by my house, I immediately like, okay, that's somebody with that could be somebody with an IED on them, suicide bomber, and my wife at the time, he's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Nothing," trying to be cool and everything, but I still hadn't dialed it down. So that hypervigilance is one of those things that you really got to get a handle on. It's good in some regards, but not so good in others. And the big thing is just letting things happen. I was, my girlfriend that I have now, was walking the dogs the other day, and I was just into the dogs and how they were walking. And then there was some lady that literally snuck up on me and surprised me. And I was so angry. I was like, how did that lady get the drop on me? You know? Well, she wasn't a threat, but the fact that she was there irritated me. I was like, right. And then I just went back to walking the dogs, but I had to regulate that, right? So I know I'm kind of jumping all around, but the point being is you've got to have time to decompress whatever it is, especially to a traumatic event. And for me, it was rough because I didn't have a whole lot of tools. There was only a handful of Navy guys that I was with when I was stationed at Fort Bragg, and I surely wasn't going to share it with an Army guy, right? Because that you just don't do that because it was the Army Navy rivalry stuff. But then as I saw more, and my son taught me a lot of stuff at the time at that young age, it just helped me integrate better in terms of management skills. So does that make sense?
Mm. And has the military or anyone started to create these like decompression spaces and zones and time frames?
So yeah, interestingly enough, I had left Fort Bragg and went to SEAL Team 3 on the West Coast. They had a thing what they called the TLDs, third location decompression stop, and the plan was to have everyone go to Germany, meet there with a psychologist and your friends, and talk about the mission for 3 to 4 days, and then come home and decompress with the family, and then go to Disneyland and decompress some more. The problem is. The human beings are the problem, right? So part of the issue was like, well, I don't want to go to Disneyland. Just give me the money instead to go to Disneyland and we'll manage it. It's like you're missing the point, you know. Or guys, would tell the psychologist whatever they wanted to hear so they could get out of there, and it's just less than honest. And part of that is just the culture, and we're not
Hmm.
taught about breathing in terms of how it can dial you down, but how to get you ready for a mission. We're not taught about it's okay to not be okay, right? Because we're at the tip of the spear, go, 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 go. We're taught not to show weakness, right? And one of the SEAL mottos is if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. Moderation is for cowards, right? Well, some guys live
Hmm.
that credo full tilt, and it's like, guys, there's a time and place for that. So I think the culture's slowly changing now. You know, you asked me if Buds has changed at all. It has in that regard. The process itself is still as violent and as cruel as it can be because of the ocean. The instructors are better informed. The students are well nourished and monitored, like racehorses at Belmont. Everything that goes in them and out of them, and all this stuff. So it's a better program in that. So I think we're getting to that other pillar of holistic understanding for your emotions and the moral injuries that some people may suffer.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you and many of the guys that are starting to, like I saw a couple other guys at the Four Corners gathering, Jim Smith and Hendo, and these guys that are really strong, cool guys that have done the work, and they're humble, but they're also willing to be vulnerable and open up about this stuff. And it's a very powerful blend because the culture that I come from too is very masculine, and we've got a lot of guys that take their own lives or end up substance abuse or destroying their marriages and all the things, and it's becoming a shift because of the older generation, the ones that are willing to come out of the closet and go, you know what, I had a gun in my mouth the other day, or this is what happened to me and I actually seeked help, and here's what worked for me and here's what's working for me. And I think that's an incredible superpower, is to come out and be vulnerable, because it starts to breed vulnerability, and you can still be hard and tough, and we need those guys in that culture because that's why you're there. But it's so important also to be like, hey, I actually am human and I feel too, because if you don't acknowledge the pain and the grief, then
Yeah.
you're actually repressing it, and then it just manifests into all those things. And at the end of the day, you hurt because you love and you care, so it's actually incredibly powerful. It means you're a good man
Well,
or
thank you.
woman.
Yeah, a good human being. It's one of those things.
Hmm.
What did Jordan Peterson say? If you can't visit violence, keep it in control, you're not a dangerous man. You're harmless if you can't do violence. And I think I'm conflating two different things together. But no, to your point, it is the old guard that's helping the new guard understand to be okay. And we had to start
Hmm.
somewhere, right? And like I said, I didn't do all this stuff to be cool or talk about it. I just wanted to become whole again. I knew something was up, and if I can help people along the way, that's great. Because all I can do is plant a seed.
Yeah.
That's the best we can do, right?